Hey, it is, we are back. It's Friday, November 21st. And let's see, I got a lot of things to tell you about today. Getting a little better motion back in my hand. It was definitely scary there for a few days, so I had to lay low for a little while, but I'll probably talk about that a little bit more too, because not hurting as much. Try it again. Ah! That's what happens when you take time off. There's the chord I want. Okay. Anyway, that's still coming along. But what did I want to talk about today? I've got a couple things from the forum that I want to talk about. One of them is Jumpin' Jack Flash. The other is Sleight of Hand. Probably some questions that came up. But also along those lines, since the whole reviewing uploaded stuff is still in a state of limbo. I think I'll get in the habit of trying to answer more questions on Friday's news each week. So whether it's questions or even reviewing some stuff. So some of that will come up. First I got to run down some of the things that happened this week. Oh, I do want to welcome some of our new members. Very nice to hear Brazilian sounds from Fabio. So welcome to Totally Guitars, and very good work on the little bossa nova thing that you were playing there. Reminded me of, I've used those types of progressions in a few songs, specifically, actually in a lot of them, that are not, it's not always obvious that they came from bossa nova type progressions. The one that is obvious, uh-oh. Not this section though. Stop, because I don't know where it's going. Oh, that's right. Wait, it's got to be a D chord with F sharp with C in the bass. There it is. Oh, I don't know why. Luckily, my hands remembered that. My brain certainly didn't. Anyway, that was an example of one that I wrote a few years ago called Along the Way that uses some of those types of minimal changes. A lot of times you'll have a chord like we saw in what Fabio was playing, and you might just change one or two notes. Or maybe two. And then all of a sudden you land here. Wait, let me think. Here. Maybe make it minor. So, anyway. Really interesting chord progressions come up in the late 50s by kind of the pioneers of that. As far as we know, here in the States, there were Luis Bonfa and Antonio Carlos Jobim, and but a lot of great guitar players came out of South America in the 50s. So no, he was a European. Never mind. I was about to rattle into the guy that wrote Breezin'. Sideline trivia. Anyway, if you haven't heard it and you think George Benson did some really innovative things with it, you got to hear the original because it is like exactly the same. Anyway, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, Vanessa's lesson. Very cool. Vanessa is funny because all she tells me is that she's never been much of a fan of Neil Young's. But now she's like really fond of dozens of songs that he's written that she didn't necessarily even know he wrote. Wasn't aware of the fact that he'd written them. And that was the case with After the Gold Rush. Obviously a great tune. Great songs on that album too. What else do we have? Did I lesson on this? else is on there? And also, of course, oh, here's one I know I didn't do. Let me think. No, wait. Anyway, something like that. Is that the right song? Yeah. Also from the album After the Gold Rush, of course. Okay, I wasn't supposed to play this much today, but you know what? Frankly, it's not hurting too much. But I had to lay low last week. This week, what else happened this week? Ron Blue. Introducing Ron to everybody that is into the fly on the wall lessons, because Ron has been around for a couple of years and then made it to our camp this year, and just a phenomenal guy. Hope you guys enjoyed the lesson with him. We've got a few more coming, and worked on some interesting things, some bends, and so that was our fly on the wall lesson this week. And what else did we have? Oh yeah, let me think. That's it. Anyway, so we had a little bit of The Good Life, or the end of The Good Life. So I hope people are enjoying that. As I mentioned in that, it gets a little tougher as it moves along. So let's see, what else do I want to talk about? I guess I want to get to the questions on the forum. I took a look at, just at the page. I didn't look at the lesson. I can't ever look at my lessons. But and there are way too many attachments in that. So the simple solution to figuring out the arrangement of sleight of hand is only look at the page that says complete. Throw away all the parts, 1, 2, 3, section A, section B, all that other stuff. Because in the simple world of the song, there's sections A, B, and C. A is this, B is this, and C is something like that. And then there's D. Which of course ends with, wait a minute. Okay, I gotta be able to do that. Anyway, and really, there's only 2 different endings for section A unless you're going to the outro. One of them returns you to, one of them leaves you hanging so you can start the next part on A minor. One of them ends on A minor so that you can go somewhere else. So the endings are determined by where you're going, not by where you've come from. You always come from the same place. Okay, anyway, so try to sort that out, and maybe we'll revisit that again next week. The big thing I wanted to do, let me see if there's something else I wanted to talk about. Oh! New members to the forum. It's also really cool when every once in a while somebody gets a hold of me that says, "Hey, we used to take lessons from you." This week there were 2 of those. Now one I have not heard back from yet, but was somebody that took lessons from me back in the 70s, before we even had Joplin and Sweeney. Joplin and Sweeney started in 1979. My store I started with my friend and partner Greg Berger, and but I was teaching in a place called Union Grove in downtown Los Gatos in 1976, like right around that, yeah, 76, 77, 78, around that time. And and even 76 was even an earlier place called the Village Guitar Shop. So anyhow, it's always cool when people come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I remember when you were just a kid and giving lessons. Anyway, so, and I also want to welcome our other more recent convert to the site, who's working on, love this tune. Anyway, great one to be working on. Although I think Willem's working on that. I hope everybody's got a chance to take a look at Chicago, a tune that we really have. Well, I do have a tape that my old guitar teacher, Alan Beilharz, gave me of Billy Shucks. Name escapes me. Never mind. Look up the interview with Jim Page. Has info on that. Okay, where else was I going? Marc. So this is going to turn into really a review and a recommendation. The first thing I got to tell you about Jumpin' Jack Flash is thinking back on some of your uploads from many years ago. And by the way, it's good to have you back. I know you've been kind of like off doing other things, and good to see your posts back on the forum again. And Marc was one of the first people, one of the first two, that after we started Totally Guitars, was out in California and took a private lesson from me. And not maybe coincidentally, the other one was Marc as well. You guys both know who you are. Marc M. also came out in the early days. And I think you two were the first two that I met who knew about me from Totally Guitars. So that was very cool. And but Marc with a C is getting back to your review here, man, because your strumming has gotten so much better. It's rhythmic. Anyway, it was sounding great. And I gathered from your comments and from the way you played it that you don't quite have the notes that are happening as the little fills for the 4 chords that happen in the chorus. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, but I'm going to give you some really big hints because, well, maybe it might give it away. This is an ear training thing. So first of all, identify how many notes you hear as the little fill for each chord. It's the same on all 4 chords. We hear it on the first set of 4 chords, and we also hear it on the first 2 of the second time around, and when it gets back to, and that's all we hear. So as I did listen to it this morning, but I might have miscounted all of that. In any case, we hear a chord, and then we hear a couple of notes filling because Mick has finished his singing. But it's all, and then we hear a couple things, right, and a couple of things. Now, and even when he's singing, in fact, it's like we hear the same few notes. How many notes are there? It's the same on every chord. And then the big hint is the note that he starts on, at least on the first chord, is going to be one of the notes of the chord, and it's up someplace high. You're on the right track with what you did. And if you think about what you played, let's say if you were doing it on an A chord, you did this. I'm not sure if you... Anyway, you found a note that does exactly this type of thing. May not be the right note. It might be the right note. But it's not the exact same sequence of notes on every chord. So the hint here is we play a chord and then we look for a little melody that starts on a note that is harmonic. It's one of the notes in the chord, and then you have to figure out where to play that chord so that that note is reachable. That note, the hint here on, oh, let me think. I want to give you a big hint. The note, the melody that you hear on each chord always starts on the first string. The way you were playing it, you had notes on the second string, on a couple of them, maybe on all of them. Okay, that's it for the hint. So let's keep those uploads coming. of things for review, and I will get around to reviewing and re-hinting on some of them as much as possible. And in the meantime, I'm only about another day away from getting back to seriously practicing that really hard part in Bethena. Okay, I keep tripping it up right there. There it is. One more time. Okay, then it changes chords. Okay, well, I think I'm done for the day. Okay. We might thin out lessons next week a little bit too. It is a kind of a big holiday around here in the United States. You've got me back really early this morning. I was checking out, I was reading up on the Mayflower and things like that, and the history of the colonization of the United States and why these people left their comfy diggings in Europe and came here, but for something not very particularly comfortable. A lot of them didn't make it. Well, hopefully this week I'll be able to sit down and play the guitar without it hurting, because it's kind of fun to do that sometimes. In any case, hopefully there'll be some lessons next week as well. And wishing everybody here in the States happy Thanksgiving and hopefully a good time with family and friends.